Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson. This is Ed McMahon along with Doc Severinsen and the NBC Orchestra inviting you to join Johnny and his guests, Buddy Hackett, John Lithgow, and another segment of Moron Movies.
Is this another rerun?
And now, ladies
Why
and
do they always
gentlemen,
have the same people? Can't they have anybody different? Hey, maybe I'll be on one of these. I'll start off slow at first. Just the local stuff. Then maybe later the news. Then let the word spread. Once the word gets around, then I could be on the Tonight Show. The Late Show. Oprah! Why, no, Oprah. I never dreamed this would happen to me. I always hoped I would live the lifestyle of the rich and famous, but I didn't know how to become the millionaire I am today. It all happened by accident. By an accident. The whole story? Sure, I'd love to tell you. It'll take your whole show. All right. From the beginning. For a lot of years, my life just kind of rolled on. Grew up, went to school. After graduation, got a job at a construction company. I'd get up in the morning, go to work, come home, eat dinner, have a couple beers, watch some TV, go to bed. Played poker with the guys on Thursdays. Sometimes we'd go bowling on Saturdays. That was pretty much it. You wouldn't believe some of the hangovers I had back then. After a while, it seemed like something was missing, but I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. Then one night, we were over at my friend Roger's playing poker, and there's his wife, bringing out the food, giving us beers, and looking real good. And then it hit me. Maybe I should get married too. It's not like I never had anything to do with women. I dated some in high school, mostly to get laid, but no lifetime commitments. But now it seemed like it was time. But who would I marry? The only women I ever talked to were at the construction company, and both of them were already living with somebody, and one of them was having an affair with the boss at the same time. So I didn't know what to do. Well, one night we were playing poker, and after everybody had left, I told Roger what a great life he had, being married and all, and he called his wife in, Gloria, and told her what I said, and she said that she had a friend, Patricia, she could fix me up with. And I thought, sure, why not? Didn't know what else to do. So we double dated, and I really liked Patricia, and so that went on for a while, and after about a year, I asked her to marry me, and she said yes, and so that was that. After that, I thought life would change, but it didn't really. I still got up in the morning, went to work, came home, ate dinner, had a couple beers, watched TV, went to bed. Still played poker with the guys on Thursdays, didn't go bowling much anymore. Pat and I managed to have a couple kids in there somewhere, but Pat took care of them by herself. She'd take them to church on Sundays, and I'd go with her when I wasn't too hungover. So life was pretty much the same, and that was okay. The only change was after her dad died, we moved out to his farm, but other than that, everything was pretty much the same, and pretty okay. And we were doing okay money-wise, too. Ever since we moved in the farm, we didn't have a mortgage, but with the kids and their clothes and Pat and my boat, money was still pretty tight. I wished I could have done more, but what with working 50 hours or more at the construction company, I was just really worn out. And I told Pat I didn't want her to work. I wanted her to stay home with the kids. But we were doing okay. Still, I wish I could have done more. And then one night last spring, they came. I was coming home from one of my poker nights, and it was pretty late. And when I drove up the driveway, I saw something out in the field. I didn't know what it was, so I turned off the truck and let it drift to a stop. There was this weird greenish light. So I pulled this gun out of my gun rack and I snuck out into the field, and there I saw it. Right then I knew it was true. I'd read about it in the National Enquirer and the Weekly World News, but there they were right in front of me. Space aliens. There were 3 of them, about 4 or 5 feet tall, long arms and legs, wearing strange clothes and some kind of funny helmet that looked familiar, but I couldn't quite figure it out. They were roaming around outside their ship, picking up rocks and weeds and stuff, and checking them out with some kind of small box that looked like it was right out of Star Trek. Well, they didn't see me, so I just kept watching them, doing what they were doing, and they just kept walking around, picking up rocks and weeds and stuff. After a couple minutes, 2 of them walk back to the ship and start staring at this crystal, and it starts turning purple. Well, I thought this was kind of weird, them staring at this glowing crystal, so I just watched them for a few minutes. But then suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I see the 3rd one standing right next to me, staring at me, and holding some kind of box, staring it right at me. Hell, I didn't know if it was a gun or what, so I took the butt of my rifle, knocked it out of his hands, but he didn't do nothing. He just kept staring at me with those big weird eyes. Then suddenly I heard a noise, and I see the other 2 running across the field right at me, and the crystal's growing brighter, and I know I'm in some deep shit now. So I shot him. I shot all 3 of them. I shot the first 2 running across the field. That must have scared the crap out of the 3rd one, because he started singing in some kind of high-pitched opera thing. Gave me the shivers. So I shot him too. Man, that was weird. Easier than shooting deer. I just shot him. So there I am out in the field with 3 dead aliens in a spaceship, and I'm trying to figure out what to do next. And then it hits me. I gotta hide this. I've read stories about people calling the government because of crashed spaceships, and the government comes in and takes it all away, and there's no way to prove that it ever happened, and people look at you like you're nuts. Well, people kind of think I'm kind of nuts anyway. I do some strange things sometimes down at the construction site, like singing and playing air guitar. I gotta be honest with you, Oprah. It has always been my desire to be a famous rock star. But I don't see much chance of that happening since I can't play an instrument and I don't sing real good. I'm always getting funny looks when I'm singing hymns in church. And I get funny looks down at the construction site when I sing too. People say it sounds like I've been coughing up a hairball. And then something else hits me. Sure, I gotta hide this, but I also gotta show everybody. I gotta let everybody know that there really are space aliens and that I found them. And that seems like the most important part, that I found them. It seems to me like I ought to make some money off of this. Showing off the aliens in the spaceship, telling the story about how they landed in my backyard, I could make a fortune. But I don't want the government to come and take it all away, so I gotta do it in some way that they can't do that. And then it hit me. I could do some kind of roadside show place, just like they had in the Poconos, where my wife and I had our honeymoon in the place with the heart-shaped bathtub and the giant champagne glass for 2. Anyway, there's a million places like that. Harry Schlub's Reptile Farm and Wildlife Petting Zoo, stuff like that. I could just fix up some place like that in the barn. Might as well, it's just sitting there, might as well put it to good use. But my first problem was, how do I get all this hidden away? How do I get the ship into the barn? So I went over and checked it out, and I went inside, and luckily it was not running. It was still glowing, but it was turned off, which is a good thing, because I didn't want to hit some button and go flying out into space. So it was pretty small. It was about 20 feet round and real light. I backed my truck up as close as I could, wrapped some ropes around it, and hauled it into the barn. I hardly made any noise. Didn't wake up Pat or the kids. And then there were the alien bodies. I didn't know what to do with them at first. I didn't want them to start rotting. They'd get all gamey and then everybody'd know where they were. And I didn't want the crows to think they were extraterrestrial roadkill. And then I remembered my father-in-law's old meat freezer. We hardly bought any meat, so it was just sitting there. So it seemed like a good time to turn it on. So I started it up, and I got all 3 bodies, and they all fit in there because they were pretty small. Then I went to bed. I didn't tell my wife about it just yet. I wanted it to be a big surprise. That weekend I went over to my friend Wally's house. He's a taxidermist. Did a great job on that bear I got 2 seasons ago. I told him I had this money-making idea and I'd cut him in on it if he'd help me. Well, he didn't believe me at first. But then we went over to my place and I showed him what was in the freezer. He was amazed. And then I could see dollar signs in his eyes. He told me he'd do it. He would take the aliens and stuff them so we could display them in the ship. Great! So then I figure I should read up on this alien thing. So I go downtown to the bookstore and buy a bunch of books about UFOs and abductions, that sort of thing. Boy, was my wife surprised. You see, I'm not much of a reader. The Sports Illustrated football preview and the swimsuit edition. So my wife was surprised when I brought all these books home. And then she sees it and wonders why these books. She figures that I must have seen something and I didn't want to tell her about it. So I thought, now's the time to show her. They say you shouldn't have secrets in marriage, and we'd never had any in ours. At least I never did. So I took her out to the barn, showed her the ship and the aliens in the freezer, and told her my idea about the Alien Museum. That's what I decided to call it, the Alien Museum. We were going to have billboards all up and down the highway. Aliens, 10 miles, turn left. We'd have them every couple miles. Aliens, 3 miles, turn left. Until we got to the one that said, you missed the aliens, turn back. Well, Pat is not that excited. She doesn't believe me at first, but then I take her and show her inside the ship. Since I could never figure out how to get the door open and closed, it's still open from the other night. So then she looks around and she realizes I'm telling the truth. And then she gets worried. Not about the government coming to take it away or somebody else coming and finding it. She's worried about the kids. What if the kids get in here and start playing and the door shuts and we can't get it open? Honey, it is not a goddamn abandoned refrigerator. It is an alien spaceship. But she won't listen. She makes me get a huge padlock to lock the barn door, which actually is a good idea because I didn't want just anybody roaming around in there. So I agree to not let the kids in the barn, and then she seems fine with that. And then I started reading all these books I got, and I learned how aliens have crashed on the earth before, and the government's come in and taken the alien bodies and one live alien to their secret bases, and how they take the ships and, what do they call it? Reverse engineer the technology of the ships to make other ships. That's how they made the stealth bomber. It's an alien ship motor. And all kinds of stuff like that. Then I realized that everything they say about aliens and saucers are true because I've got a flying saucer in my barn. And I also realized that while the government is trying to cover up about aliens and UFOs, they are also starting to leak the technology so that we will not be shocked when we realize that aliens are real. And then I looked again at the uniform that my aliens is wearing, and I remembered why it looked so familiar. I've got my first stuffed alien right here. These are the clothes that bicycle riders wear. Well, things start getting a little crazy now because I'm spending a lot of time thinking about my alien museum. Wally brings over the first stuffed alien and he looks great. I love what he did with the eyes. And we start talking about displays and signs and souvenirs. That's where the real money is. I visited the aliens' t-shirts and ball caps and mugs and keychains and bumper stickers. So I started ordering all this stuff, and I figured Pat wouldn't mind because we're going to be rich real soon. Well, it turns out Pat doesn't like any of this. She isn't sure I should have killed the aliens. She's not sure we should put them on display like a snake farm. What if the government comes in and takes it all away, she says. What if the aliens come in and take it all away? She doesn't think this is funny. She thinks I'm obsessed. She thinks I'm not paying any attention to her and the kids. Well, I don't think that I'm paying any less attention to them. She says she's going to take the kids and move in with her aunt for a while till I get over this. Till I get over this? Honey, I'm just trying to build a better life for us. But she doesn't listen. One day she packs up the station wagon and the kids and just drives off. I can't believe she left me, Oprah. Here I am trying to get rich and provide for my family and give them everything. I thought that was the American dream. Isn't that the American dream? But she'll be back. Oh, she'll be back. When she sees what a success I've made of the Alien Museum and how everybody respects me for that and how much money I've got in my pocket, she'll be back. She'll bring the kids and everything will be just the same as it was before. Except for the alien spaceship in the barn and all the money I've got in my pocket. So yes, we're all ready to open next weekend. Got the newspapers and the TV stations all coming out for it. Of course, I had to quit my job to devote full time to this thing and use up all my life savings to get the barn ready and to buy the t-shirts and mugs and everything. But it's ready. It's going to be a big splash. No, thank you, Oprah. I was glad to come on and tell my story to the world. I think I'll have another beer and go to bed.